Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can start, Santosh.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So having done with the different types of data mining tools like classification, clustering, ARM, and other things, like even we have dealt with CNN also. So here I'm like planning to touch upon a domain where we are going to use all these techniques that were like already used, which is like social media data analytics. So for example, as we are like connected via internet, we are like using many applications and all. In general, whenever we hear the word social network, it can be related as a group of interactions which could be of for social interactions where we will interact with our friends or family members, or for any professional interactions also, or for business collaborations and everything. And to touch upon the main thing that was like given by Milgram in around 1967, he's a psychology person, and he initially stated that there is some principle called word shrinking effect of social networks, which he called it as 6 degrees of separation. So the word 6 degrees of separation tells that any person in the world can connect to any other person without directly knowing him in maximum of 6 steps. For example, what Milgram did was there was a parcel which was like sent to a person who is known to, for example, if the source is A and source is H, there were like other sources in between, and A and H were not directly connected. So we are going to use the intermediate nodes which are very near to the target H, and then the parcel is like transmitted. So this, they called it as 6 degrees of separation. And in 2002, the same experiment was like done using some email setup by Columbia University, and then they found that it took around 5 to 7 steps to send a mail from one person to another person whose details were not completely known. And when the same experiment was like conducted in 2019 in Facebook scenario, they have found that the degrees of separation was not 6. The degrees of separation has reduced it to 4.8 steps in case of Facebook. So 6 degrees of separation generally tells about how one person in the network is like connected to another person in the network. And when we deal about social networks, we'll be like mostly hearing about different platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and etc. And like the social media analytics is like we are going to gather certain information from this social networks, and then we find insights from it. So what is a social media data? Like, for example, if it is a Facebook scenario, if I keep any post, it could be either a text or an image or a video for which I'll be getting some like or share or certain comments again. So if you come to social networks, the data that is emerged from the social networks is not of the same type. For example, we cannot frame that the data that we are going to extract are only structured data. It could be either structured or unstructured also, because we will be able to like share multimedia data by using the social networks. Like as I told, like in general, like shares or conversations and comments, mentions, impressions, like that, everything counts as a social media data. See, like I have given a report, data report, which is telling that the data Never Sleeps 5.0, which was taken in 2020 January, it is stating that around 5,27,760 photos are being shared in Snapchat per minute. And the statistics which were like given here, like 120 plus professional being added, or any other tweets or photos, or the number of smartphone users that are like increasing, were only for 1 minute. So this can give you a flavor, or this can tell you about the fact that anonymous data is being generated for every minute, and we need to find insights from it, which is like a big task. These are certain types of social media that I'm like talking about. For example, social networks in general, we call where we connect to other people like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, like that. Or we can even have certain networks which are like wholly for media sharing. For example, your Instagram or your YouTube. They were like meant only to share photos, videos, and so on. And they were like other networks which are wholly used for discussion forums or like some bookmarking also. For example, Pinterest, Flipboard, which we generally use. And then for customer reviews also, we can have certain networks. Like whether it could be about a food or a place which we are going to visit, and so on. Or it could be some blogging or micro blogging sites also, where we can like have a limit of number of like a text passing things and all, like WordPress and all. And they were like certain networks which are based on interest or social shopping, like, or for economical things. Even we have certain social networks which can be used anonymously without like without disclosing our information. Like we have something called After School, God Whisper. These are network sites where two people can chat without disclosing their information completely. So now I plan to touch upon the structure of the social media. Like for example, a network, when I see, it can be viewed as a graph, which could be either directed or undirected. Here, for example, even if I'm showing this Facebook as an directed, I'm showing with a double arrow stating that if A to D is there, D to A implies itself. So this, in the figure, the Facebook network snapshot can also be viewed as an undirected friendship. So I'll touch upon what is directed and undirected with an example. For example, if I have a Twitter account and I'm like following a person X, so it doesn't mean that the X should also follow me in reverse. So that we call it as a directed mapping. For example, even in Instagram, I might follow a person whom need not follow me in the opposite way. But when it comes for your Facebook network, if I say that I am friend to a person, obvious that other person is also friend to me. So these are the basic measures that we can take in terms of your social network. For example, if you say degree, it is like the number of links that are going in or from a particular node in the network. And the walk in generally tells about the path or the way in which I'm like passing through all the nodes using that particular links. Here, link can be taken as a friendship or like a link between any two persons in the social network. For example, if I tell path is also a walk where every node in the social network is visited only once. And if it is a cycle, it's like the starting point and the ending point will be the same. And this geodesic measure is like the shortest path that we get between two nodes, any two nodes. Whereas diameter is the longest path of that. This is a snapshot of a network I have taken, and then I'm going to compute the adjacency matrix, which people would have already been knowing about it. For example, if I take this, from A to B there is a connection, and from A to C there is a connection. So the matrix here, from A and C, I'll give a 1, and from A to B also I'm giving a 1 over here. So it means that this A and B are connected, and even A and C are also connected to each other. In the same way, for example, from B, there is a link to A and then to C. So the table is updated according to the links that were there from source node to the destination node. So after filling the adjacency matrix, if I'm like calculating the row wise sum, for example, for A, the row wise sum is 2, for B, the row wise sum is 2, And for C, the row-wise sum is 2, and for D, the row-wise sum is 0. Here, if I take a diagram from A to B and A to C, there is a link. So the value is 2. And from B to A and B to C also we have a connection. So it is also 2. If we take C, there is only one connection which is going from C to D. Sorry, C to B and C to D. So it is also 2. But whereas when we deal about D, there is no other node from which this D is like going. From D, there is no further path. There is no out degree over here. So 2, 2, 2 and 0 will be generally giving about the out degree of the specific graph. And if I try to sum up all these values in column wise, I'll be getting 1, 2, 2, 1, which will be in general the in degree. So for example, for D, there is only one incoming edge, therefore it is 1. For C, there are 2. And for B, there are 2. And for A, there is only 1. So this clearly depicts that once we could get adjacency matrix notation for any network, we could directly identify what is out degree and in degree for it. These are certain examples I tried upon to demonstrate what is a path and what is a walk. For example, if you take this below diagram, I can pass from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Without going back to 3 also, I can go to 6 and 7. But there is again a path from 5 to 3. I mean, it's like a walk I'm performing on a particular network. It's a sample of walk I have traced on a network to find out whether it is a path and walk or which is only walk but not path. For example, in the above diagram, if I take this as a walk, a random walk out of the network, I am not I'm not reaching the same node again. So therefore, it can be treated as a walk as well as a path. For example, here, from 1 to 3, 4, 5, I can again go back to 3. Therefore, I'm touching upon this node 3 twice. Therefore, this cannot be treated as a path. And as I told, geodesic path from 2 to 6 is nothing but the shortest path that we can get between two nodes. For example, if I'm taking from 2 to 6, I can reach 6 by using using this node 2 in many ways. For example, I can start with 2, I can go to 3, 4, 5 and 6 also. So where it is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Whereas if I use 2, 3, 7 and 6 or 2, 3, 5 and 6, I'm like reaching in 3 distance. Therefore, the minimum of that is 3. Therefore, any geodesic path from 2 to 6 is given as 3, which could be from 2, 3, 5 or 2, 3, 7. So now, after visualizing a particular network or like defining a network in terms of a graph, there could be like certain measures which can be calculated, like centrality measures in general we call. They were like degree centrality or closeness centrality or betweenness centrality, which are like very important while analyzing any sort of network. For example, degree centrality will always give about the number of connections that a particular node will have. Therefore, if we could complete this degree centrality, we can always know about the influencer in a network to whom and there were like many friends connected or many nodes connected to it. If I take closeness centrality, it's like the distance among different nodes. That's what we have dealt like the degrees of separation in general. So if we want to reach from one node to another node, what is the distance that we are going to travel to reach to that particular node? That too, the shortest distance that we are going to deal with. And for betweenness centrality, it counts the shortest path as we are like discussed. So if it is a directed network, again, this degree centrality is like given in terms of in degree and out degree also. But for any undirected, it is like the same. And closeness centrality is generally calculated by using the degrees of separation. So often, if we calculate this betweenness centrality, which gives you the shortest path among all the different nodes, it will give you the gatekeeper, or these people were called as a structural hole. For example, there is a completely new network A, there is entirely new network B, and there were like one or two nodes which connect between these two networks. So these this B and C, which were in between these two networks, were called as structural holes, or these are called as brokers or gatekeepers, from which we can enter from one network to another network. So here I'm like giving an example, and we will be calculating degree centrality, betweenness centrality, and closeness centrality. So this is an example graph I have taken. Here, if we need to calculate degree centrality, it is a number of connections that I have. For example, nodes like 4, 5, 6, or 9, 11 will have only 1 degree centrality. For nodes like 8 and 11, or even 2, there were like only 2 connections. For 8, there are only 2 connections. Even for 11, there are only 2 connections. So the degree centrality of these nodes are 2. For example, if I take node 1, it is connected to 4 different nodes here, 4, 5, 6, and 2. Therefore, the degree centrality of 1 is 4. So for the entire graph, we are going to take the high degree of centrality. Therefore, for the example graph that was taken here, the degree centrality of the entire network is 4, because 4 is the maximum value that we got for every other node in the network. If we come to closeness centrality, as explained, it will be calculated initially by tracking down what is the degree of separation. For example, if I come back to the same network, like from 1, if I need to touch upon 2, there is only 1 degree of separation here. From 1 to 1, always the degree of separation will be 0, which is not considered. From 1 to 4, the degree of separation is 1. For 5 and 6 also it is 1. For example, if I want to reach 9 from 1, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the degree of separation will be calculated for each and every node in the network in the same way. So these are the tables which generally depicts about what are the degrees of separation from node 1, for example, to every other node in the network. And then we are going to sum up all these degrees of separation to know about the closeness centrality of the entire network. So the same thing will be calculated for node 2 and 3. Here, for example, I have taken only 3 nodes which are in the center of the network. I have calculated only for 1, 2, and 3. Here, for 1, we got closeness centrality to be 30. For 2, it is 26, and 3, it is 24. As closeness centrality, as discussed, the degree of separation should be as minimum as possible. Therefore, we are going to consider the minimum value out of all these 3, which is 24. So we can state that node 3 is closest in the entire network, on average to reach to any other node. Therefore, the closeness centrality of the entire network is 24 for the node 3. And for calculating this betweenness centrality, so we will be like counting how many times a particular node is touched upon to reach other nodes. If I take the same network, if I want to reach 9 from 4, so I'll be calculating how many times 1 is touched upon how many times 2 is touched upon, 3, 7, and 8 are touched in order to reach from 4 to 9. So that we term it as betweenness centrality. So I have computed the betweenness centrality for different nodes. That is for node 1, like node 4, I'm like calculating. So it is 10 times like that. We are like calculating for each and every node. So for example, for node 1, we have got 54 times on the whole. Like we need to calculate how many times the other nodes are touched upon. For example, I need to reach from 8 to 9. I need not visit 7 before reaching this 9. Therefore, there will not be any betweenness centrality between this. So in that way, we are going to calculate for each and every node. And the node with highest value will be the betweenness centrality. Here for the example that was taken, the betweenness centrality was high even for 3, which was around 78 times, 78 steps. It is to reach from one node to every other node in the network, 3 is touched upon at least for 78 times. So these are the measures which give you about what are the intermediate nodes or what are the structural holes in the network or who are the influencers in the network. These can be used in order to pass certain information. So the other measures were like global measures, local measures, and individual measures. If it is a global measure, we'll calculate the average degree of the network or the degree distribution and so on. For local networks, we'll be calculating the structural equivalence or the clustering coefficient. For individual measures, degree centrality, closeness centrality, and betweenness centrality. And we will be dealing about GEFI in the afternoon session where we are going to try analyzing YouTube network. And this is a simple network which I have taken to show how this network can be like stored inside your program. Like it can be stored as an adjacency matrix, or it can be stored as an adjacency list, or it can also be stored as an adjacency list, sorry, edge list. Now, so after dealing with how do we analyze or how do you view our social networks and what are the typical measures that can be calculated for this network, we shall have some discussion on what is the social media data actually. As I touched upon, the social media data can be a like or a comment or share that comes for any data that I'm going to spread. For example, if I keep a video related to our workshop, there could be some likes or suggestions in sort of comments or shares that can happen. So in order to know the popularity of a particular video or popularity of a particular post, these will be very much used. So this is taken as a social media data. Moreover, depending upon what domain we are like working on or what are the requirements, social media data can be taken in terms of your text or audio or your interactions or even the number of visits for a page that can also be taken as a social media data. So social media analytic tools were there. Those are going to find out what are all happening inside the network, to find out what is the origin for a particular news, for example, or who is the most influencer in the particular network, or the person who is connecting between two entirely different networks. So these all can be calculated using this social media data. So as we have discussed in the previous sessions, like your classification algorithms or your clustering algorithms or your association rule mining algorithms or even your CNNs, everything can be used to work with the social media data. Now, so we came to know what is data and what is social media data and how much data is being like populated for every minute also. So now we shall discuss something about how do you scrape a data. Like scraping a data is like downloading a data from internet and then using it for your analysis. I'm sorry. So like, for example, if I have a data related to the prices in Amazon, let us suppose a mobile X costs for 13,000. In Flipkart, it is for 15,000. In any other site, it could be some 17,000. So I can run a scraper which is going to extract data from each of the site and can give you as a differentiator or tabulated with a different sort of price or some reviews or something. So for this, data scraping will be very much useful. There were like many sites where you can like just check for what are difference between the prices or difference between the requirements and reviews and everything. So data scraping can be used for this business intelligence also, or for e-commerce sites, as I was like talking about. Even if we take for a YouTube, I can use the same data scraping in order to know which is the most popular video or any other thing, or how one news channel is like related to another news channel, and these can be calculated. So like before explaining the steps, I would like to show you a small demo of how you can scrape from your YouTube. I guess I'm clear so far. Is my screen visible again?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So for scraping your YouTube, the first step that I'm doing is I'll be opening webscraper.io. And then I'll right click and I'll just go for inspect. So inspect will give you about the page details, or what are the sources, the network structure of this particular web page, everything, the memory that is used, is being utilized, what is the performance of this web page right now, everything will be given, wherein you have something called web scraper here. For instance, I'm like going to YouTube. Let us say take something like Edureka or something. And I'm like going into that particular channel. So I guess Edureka is a well-known resource for everyone, where we'll be finding videos related to different topics, subjects and all. And then I'll be going into this videos. Yeah. So I'm going into videos. And I'm copying this URL. Now what I'll do is start creating a new sitemap. There is something called create a new sitemap over here. So I'm going to click on create sitemap. So it will ask you for a sitemap. Let us suppose I give it as Edureka or something. And it will ask you the URL from which it should be like scrapped. So scraped, for example, I'm like copying the same thing. URL that was like copied. So I'm clicking on create mapper. So to the bottom here, you are finding something called add new selector. So I'm going to click on add new selector. And then you can give any name here. Let us suppose I give something called root. And as I need to work with the different video links, the type will be link. and then I'm going to select my videos. As I'm going to select multiple videos, I'm like clicking on multiple. So now I start clicking on one or two, wherein every other video will be automatically selected. So now what I'll do is I'll say I'm like done for the selector. And then I'm going to save selector. So this is the first step where we are like starting with one video and we are like trying to check what are all the other videos in that particular channel. It is like we are selecting all the videos in the channel for our web script. Now, like for example, I can open any video. And then I'll be clicking on this selector again. Because it is a root level. Now, after entering into one video, again, we will be having some sort of recommendations are up for you. These are the recommendation videos that will be given for every video. So now we are going to tackle with this data here. So now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to have a new selector. Let us suppose I'll give it as some child. Again, I'm dealing with link, so it is link. And I'm going to select multiple. And now I try to select different videos. So here, all the recommendation videos related to the playing video are like automatically selected. And as this is a like a channel or a playlist, it is not selected here. And then I'll click on done selection. So now I can directly save this. Here, if you see, you will be finding sitemap for the thing that we have created here. It is like Edureka trail. So I'm going to just click on it and I'm going to check whether the select graph is working fine or not. For example, we have created a 2-level wherein the first level is the root, and for every root recommendations are like popped in. So it will be in this way. This is the entry point for your channel where one video or the videos which are there in that particular channels were like taken as a root. For every video in this channel, the recommendations are also tackled here using this child. Now I can go to 1 minute. Yeah, there'll be something called export data as CSV file. So I can just click on it and then download. That's it. Your data is ready for processing here. Oh, sorry, 1 minute. I didn't start scraping at all. Like I need to scrape the data first. So I'll just start scraping. This process will be automat, wherein it is going to take every video and its recommendation video data also. It might take some 30 seconds or so for doing. And before it completes, like I want to touch upon another measure that sir has like told, which is like hits, which is hyperlink induced topic search. This will be like very much useful whenever I need to calculate what is the page rank of a particular web page, for example. Here in hits, let us suppose they were like two websites or two pages, A and B. For example, inside a page A, if I'm giving the pointer to page B or the link related to page B, then A is termed as a hub. So hub is where it is going to give different sort of pointers to every other page. And now this B will be treated as an authority. So authority is one which is pointed out by the one other page or website. So for the example I have taken, from A to B, A can be treated as a hub and B can be treated as a authority for now. But in reality, again, this B can indirectly point out to A again. So therefore, all the web pages or any page or websites in general will be treated as hubs and authorities depending upon the path in which we are tracing it. And always we will be checking about a good hub and good authority. For example, I call a hub a good one if it points out to other pages which are like rated high. And for example, if I end up a page which is irrelevant, then obviously the point for the hub will be reduced. And for the authority, it is called as a good authority if it is linked by different pages, that too the pages which has higher rating. Therefore, if for example, if I have n number of friends, if one of my friend has a higher authority score, I will also be getting good authority score if I'm being pointed out by him. So it's like a mutual thing which happens, which either increases or decreases the overall ranking of the page. So this is how in general this eigencentrality measure is also calculated. So that's why we also tell in English, not just see your friend, see your friends of your friend. So that will tell you about, that will clearly explain you who you are. So that can be taken as an eigencentrality measure again. But the thing that I have explained to you was a simple example. There were like n number of methods where it can be done. Okay, like I guess there are like many videos in this channel, so it's taking more time for that. I'll just show you how your CSV file will look like. See, like this is the final thing that we will get. Like we will be having some source and then target, but the link one will be included by the user before you are going to scrape the data. 1 minute, I'll check if it is done. Yeah, I hope it is done. So now I can go and click on refresh. So this is the data that was like scraped for me. Now I can directly download it in terms of CSV file. So export data as CSV, and then I'll click on download. So this will be the data which I get in a raw format. Here, what all I require is the root reference which is the D column, and then the child reference, which is F column. So you can like delete columns A, B, and C, and then E also. So this will generally give you what is the link or what is the, the name of that particular video and all. So these are all not required for you for your analysis. Only thing that I require is the root reference and its child reference. Root reference, I mean the video from which we have started, or the channel videos from which we have started scraping. And then child is from one video, what are all the suggestions that we got. So finally, after removing all, this is what we got, like as I've already shown you. So this is like renamed as source. The root is renamed as source and the child is renamed as target here. And this is the link. And that as it is referring from source to child or from root to child, always there is a link between these two videos. So for that, we will be making the link value to be 1 here. So this is the data which can be used for analysis. And in afternoon, we will be discussing about what the same measures that we have dealt here, like degree centrality or betweenness centrality. What are all the measures that we have calculated in the previous things, we will be observing without even coding. Gephi is a tool where all this process will be automatically shown. Like this is a very, very simple tool which can be used by a layman who doesn't know anything about coding also. Just what he need to know is all about using that Gephi tool and different measures and what are that measure mean to them. So I have given the same steps for your reference here, like opening up your web scraper and then inspecting. Everything was given here with certain examples. So this is the last step that we have got, source and then target and then link. So this is your Gephi, where it is giving me the overall sitemap. And here I can even take what is the in degree, what is the out degree. Everything can also be taken into account. For example, this is an in degree distribution. Like how many nodes have in degree some X, how many nodes have some in degree Y. All these things can also be known directly. This is out degree and page rank, as I told. Like for page rank, you will be calculating this eigen centrality for every of the other nodes connected to it. It's like calculating the friends of the friend, current friend. So I guess I have like touched upon the network aspect, and I have given you a brief introduction of what is social media data and an example of how do we get data from YouTube. And just as an extra point to add, for example, you can do the same thing for Twitter also. You can even download the tweets and all. But the problem is you will be required with, you need to have certain credentials for downloading your tweets. So certain credentials like your client credentials or your temporary credentials, or they call it as a token credentials, which were like required at that time in order to scrape your Twitter data. And moreover, because of the updates that we are getting in Twitter, so it has become more and more restricted to download your tweets or your mentions. For example, if I say hashtag a topic name, it is that you're giving importance for that topic, right? If I say hashtag COVID-19, it's like a topic on which people were like talking about. And this gets popular if more and more people retweet or use this hashtag in their particular message. And for example, if I want to point out a person in Twitter, I'll be using something called @, which we generally call it as like mention. I'm mentioning him in my post in that way. And then in afternoon, we will also be dealing about how do we work with our simple WhatsApp data also. as you already know, WhatsApp will allow you to post different types of data, right? It's like multimedia data, and it's not micro blogging like Twitter also. I mention it as a micro blogging because the number of letters or the length of the text is limited. Short form like communication network sort. Whereas in WhatsApp, it is not limited, and you are allowed to we will in general use all sort of data over there. So we will deal upon how do we download that, which is like a very simple step. Like we need to just open some group, and then you can go to more information, and then you can export the chat. That's it. In 3 steps, your WhatsApp chat data will be with you in terms of a text or CSV file again. So before I end the session, I would like to touch upon some problems which we generally face in social networks. Like you would have heard about games like Blue Whale. Like there have been many cases where there were like around thousands of people who have committed suicide after playing this particular game. Even chalking game is of the same. Like you will have a plastic cover over your face completely of your head, and then you have to withstand how much time you can survive without oxygen. So that's all about this chalking game, if I want to tell you in one word. So like chalk to death, and everything will be like lively given inside your social network. The bad side that is coming for social networks right now is that everyone is like committing suicide, and they are like publishing it online. But even that data can also be taken in order to recommend your suicidal tendency also. We can have certain apps where if your mood is very dull, we can give you certain motivational videos, or if you're very angry, it can give you some comedy videos like that. That can also be done on the other side. And then you have different things like your phishing, cyberbullying, or fake news, fake accounts, everything. So phishing, like it's also a cyber crime where in general, you will be receiving a mail, or you will be receiving a call. For example, if I have an inner domain where I have a HOD or a principal, I'll be like suddenly receiving a mail stating you need to do this. So obvious, if the name, for example, if it is csc.hod @replytdm.ac.in, it could be csc.hod something else, which we might not observe clearly. So this might happen, which we generally call it as email spoofing or phishing email. Or even certain times we will be getting certain calls from other numbers where they will be like pretending as if they are from some company or from your bank, asking you to change your number or give your details and everything. And if you have checked today's news, there was another news stating that they were like incoming numbers from +92 or +968 or +44. Many people have complained stating that once they get some calls from these numbers, their entire data was like gone. If they have their passwords, or they have saved their card details, everything was like taken by the fishers outside. So this is a current news that I have seen in the morning. And spear phishing is also the same. Like if I have your details already, for example, I have attended a workshop, I have certain details of you. I mean, I don't do that, but for example, I'm telling you. So next time, I can take your phone number, or I can take your email, and I can immediately say, this is your name, this is your phone number, this is where you're working, this is what you're doing, this is what you have done. So this happened to me, so immediately transfer some amount. So this can happen. And or you might be getting certain messages also. You have won this much crores of amount. You need to pay some 20,000 or 30,000 in order to make sure your amount will be like cleared. If it is whaling, that's what I told. Like I'll message as if I am the top person in the firm. For example, if I'm CEO, email can be like spoofed, which looks very like the legitimate email, like that's my email. So if anything comes from that, people will fall in trap and they will send all their details. So it is easy for the hackers to get your sensitive information, or they can even have access to your network also. So whenever a person is going to attack a main person in the network, that in general will be called as whaling. And cyberbullying, as everyone would have been knowing about it, since this, like when this internet has grown, on this YouTube, Facebook, everything has come, cyberbullying has also increased a lot. So this is a statistic that I want to share. In 2019, around 42% of Instagram users were like victims of cyberbullying. And majority of people even do not tell that they were like victims of cyberbullying also. And around 60% of teenagers were found that they were like victims of this cyberbullying when they are using some digital platform. So this cyberbullying can be like a masquerading, like false identity. In my name, I'll create an account and then I'll post all sorts of messages where every person will target me because it is with my identity or with my details. So that we call it as masquerading. Trolling is in general done for everything. Today, if I post any video on YouTube, there'll be some n number of negative comments or something which comes, which they might do it intentionally also to troll a particular person. Flaming is like directly attacking a person in the network. And moreover, cyberbullying has also increased with the increase of this online games. Online games where multiple people from different locations share the same server and then they are going to play. And this is another important aspect that should be dealt, which is like a fake news. Because it is a trend for publishing more and more news related to COVID also. So it can be intentional or unintentional. Once I get a message, if I feel like it is genuine or if it is right, I'll tend to share it with other people. So that could be unrealistic information or that could be real information also. So fake news is generally a biased or non-real information. And to point out again, it is not just intentionally spread news, but it could be spread unintentionally also. And then we have different measures for detecting whether it is a fake news or not. In general, we deal with the news, like who is the publisher. If it is a legitimate publisher, it is okay. Or we will see the headlines, or depending upon the number of shares or comments on the post, all this can be utilized. And the perspectives, like knowledge, for example, if I take, when a post comes, I'll just check what is the information that I gain from that, or what is the knowledge I gain from that, whether it is a rumor or whether it is a real news or whether it is a fake news. But there was some sort of knowledge that can be extracted on it from it. And for every post I get, there could be some sort of writing style again. Or there could be certain mechanisms where this news can be spread. As I have told you, like if I have a structural hole, IIIT DM Kanchipuram, let us take it as a network, and SRM University, let us take it as a network, where only one person is there, intermediate, who is like linking both the universities. So any news to be spread, I can target this structural hole or the person who is the middle of the complete network. Even in propagation of fake news, people will tend to calculate these influencers only. If you could influence that particular person, the spread of the news will be very high. And this is the life cycle for your fake news. At first, a news will be created, whether it is real or a fake, and then it is published, and then it is propagated. And I've taken some example of COVID-19 pandemic itself, and it was like observed that 35% of the videos which were given for this COVID-19 were fake, or fake information was like transmitted using videos for 35%, and 29 using your image and text. Reports of like 4 and other things. So these are rough examples that I have taken, though it may be related to this coronavirus or lockdown issues or any other thing. In the same way, we have other thing called fake accounts, where accounts will be created in name of the other persons for some monetary relations. There could be some automated programs or automatic, that we call it as a bot, for spreading all these things. So there was an incident called Boston Marathon Blast also, where they have raised a fund for a 11-year kid. They told like it was published that everyone has raised a fund of $1 each. But at last they came to know that it was all fake. And the same thing happened with all these 3 cases also. Even for COVID-19, this is a very, very popular incident. There was a fake account with name of PM Modi also, wherein they started asking for funds related to this COVID-19. So I'm sorry, I'm like almost done with my presentation and my talk. These I wanted to give you as an open-ended questions. You can just like pass through them for the next 3 minutes, and then you can answer yourself. These are only some questions that I thought of like sharing with you, because most of the things I have never done. Like for example, whenever I install any application, I will never think about what are all permissions it is going to ask, why it is asking also. I'll just click on okay, okay, okay. Even periodically, Facebook will be sending you, these are the updated privacy policies. Like for example, if there is a third party which is linked with Facebook, they can have your details. They can use your details also. And even a person who is outside the Facebook, even without having an account in Facebook, they can track your Facebook details. So these are all there in their private policies. They'll clearly state we are not responsible if any other third party related people were like tracking down your general information. I'm not talking about the whole other information, but generic information or something, you keep it as public. And even if you publish anything on your Twitter or Facebook or any video on YouTube, you'll always have a guidelines. You have to follow that. Even while commenting, you have a guidelines which will be given in Facebook policies itself. Before commenting, you have to abide all these rules. But I guess no one will generally go through them. And the next point, I'm very bad at like how often your passwords are shared or changed. I will never change, but I tend to share my password with everyone, which I have to work on. And many of you would have done this Facebook 10-year photo challenge. Actually, this is also to get certain information, image related information, which they are going to use for analysis. Only for that reason, Facebook has introduced this 10-year photo challenge also. And one more point is like Facebook friends request and everything will also be done related to what all posts you are like liking, what is your interest in it. or it could be there is a common point, like you share the common school, or you share the common pages, or the place from which your origin is, everything. But Facebook doesn't like people connecting much. I'll tell you this. They want people to just browse through and then to give either like or comment. Therefore, you'll not be getting posts related to one person and again unless you become a friend with him. Like these are all like relations that Facebook want to maintain. And at last, as we know, most of the platforms that we use, online platforms, are all of free. By name free, it doesn't mean that you're not paying or you're not giving to them. Obvious that you're not paying anything, but in turn, you are giving your data as your fee. So you are like dumping more and more amount of data per minute. That's what we have seen. Though it may be some like, though it may be some post, though it may be some message, whatever thing, it's all like an data that you are giving for analysis. So that's why I told, like, we are drenched in abundant amount of data. We have plenty of data to work with. But the only thing is we need to extract information from this. It is the main motto that for which people are like working now. Only for that reason, in 2020 analysis of your business intelligence has told that data analyst and data scientist posts are like hotcakes in 2020 and 2021. It was an analysis given. So I guess I have like completed everything. Thank you. Any doubts? And one more thing, like I guess everyone have your mobile with you, right? Mobile and WhatsApp. Can you just open your WhatsApp? Just like a fun activity, because I have some time left. You just open any group messages. Maybe our ATAL, there is some group created, right? You just click on that. And on the top right, you will be finding 3 dots. You just click on that. So you will be finding group information, group media, something of that. You will have more. Click on that more. So there you will be finding export chat. If you click on export chat, you will be getting a pop-up stating include your media or without media. So depending on application, you can either choose include media or without media, and then your WhatsApp data is ready for analysis. So this we will have a practical session in the afternoon also. So that's all from my end. I hope I'm clear. Any doubts you can like ask me. Mercy, I'm audible, right?
Yes, Santosh, yes.
Yeah. Then I guess we can stop recording and
Okay.